My name's Genevieve. My role at the law school is student support advisors. So basically my role is to support students with pastoral care, and I'm a bit of a conduit to link you up with other support services that exist within the law school. But today I am here with a very dynamic group of students who have come along to be on a panel, and we're going to have a bit of a deep dive into their experiences. And we're going to talk about what's inspired them to pursue law, the challenges that they've faced, and the moments that have made it all worth it. I'm looking forward to a lively and insightful discussion. So we will get started. Could you do this? Please welcome my lovely assistant, Amasha, who's going to help me with the PowerPoint today. So just to introduce our lovely students, we'll go along and we'll just introduce ourselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Mitchell. I'm a Part 2 law student and I'm just taking the law right now.
Kia ora everyone, my name is Talia and I am in Part 4 of my law degree, so this is my last semester.
Kia ora, my name's Genevieve. I'm in Part 3 of my law degree, but I'm in my 4th year and I'm studying with a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in Politics and International Relations.
Hi everyone, my name is Paris. I'm also in Part 3 of my law degree, but I'm actually in my 4th out of 5th year because I also do a Bachelor of Arts as well, and my major in that is in politics.
Hey everybody, I'm Aroha. I am doing just a single major in law and I'm in my 3rd year. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with the first question. So my first question, I'm going to ask the lovely Genevieve and Aroha. What was your first year of law like? How did you find the transition from high school to university? And did you have any preconceived notions or expectations of what it would be like? And did those come to fruition?
Right, so when I was first coming into law school, or just uni in general, I was quite scared. I thought it'd be a bit daunting, going from year 13, first year uni. It is quite a big difference, but that's mainly because it's all up to you, really. That's what I learned when I first got into here. It's like, it's not being spoon-fed, you're being taught well, there's a lot of good structures in place, but it's really up to you how you take the content, how you apply it, and if you have the passion for it, it's such a rewarding degree. And I think that's also what I thought. I thought law would be, I wasn't really sure what law would be like. I just had what I knew from TV and stuff like that. But coming in, it's such a good degree to go into, and the topics that we did were really interesting. And it set us up well for Part 2 onwards, like learning that it's about how you interact with people, how you can use the law to argue your case, but also you can criticize the law and know that you can do better. The law isn't perfect, and it's up to us to fix it in the future as well. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Everything you said was pretty on point. I came in during COVID and I have to say that was really an experience. I just remember kind of coming in and having to do everything online. I didn't really meet a lot of people, but I second what you've said about utilising what you've got. If you come into uni and don't talk to anyone, which is kind of what I did at first, so my preconceived notion was kind of like, oh, I'm just going to keep to myself, everyone's just in the books all the time. But all it takes is just saying hi to somebody, and now I have some really good friends from studying at law school, so just hang in there, and you guys aren't COVID babies, you can come to campus and stuff now, so that's cool. Preconceived notions, I didn't expect to be reading that much. That was like a lot of readings. And even today, I still wonder if I've comprehended some of them, but you'll get that, trust me, if you feel like you don't understand a bunch of old 18th century English, it's fine. I don't still either, so yeah.
That's great. It's really good points about what you said about finding your community here at the law school as well, and coming to school and everything, and also what you said about sort of the readings, taking the time to learn how to read a reading from 1800 and something. There's very good points there. Okay. So my next question, what was your initial reason for studying law, and has that changed as you've progressed through your degree. Talia, I'd love to start with you on that one.
So I kind of grew up as a bit of an arguer. My parents and I would fight all the time about various things. I don't know if anyone has similar experiences with their parents, but I did debating and mooting and sort of model UN through high school. So I kind of got into the law because I thought I want to go into litigation. I want to argue with people. I think in that regard, my experience at law school has really changed that. I went into law school thinking that the law was really black and white and I would just have to argue either side. What I've realized is the law is always changing and there are so many grey areas. So I've kind of come out the other side now, approaching the last few months of my degree, really interested in research, so tackling all those grey areas and sitting in rooms with academics and discussing things and doing lots of writing. So I'm far less inclined to the kind of direct litigation that I was when I came in. But it's really fascinating and interesting to kind of argue in these grey areas, and you get the opportunity sometimes to publish that research and talk with other students about that research. So that's been really rewarding.
Thank you. And Mitchell, it'd be good to get your take on this because you weren't quite sure what you wanted to do when you came into law school.
Yeah, so when I was a student, I didn't really have any idea of what I wanted to do. I was given an option from my parents of law or med, and I didn't want to do med, so here I am. So I left high school in year 12 and I went straight to uni after that. Not quite sure if law was what I wanted to do, but now in my second year, I've already dropped my conjoint. I've committed to just law and I couldn't be happier.
Awesome, thank you. So moving on to my third question. How have you handled failure or disappointment, and what advice would you give your past self who was going through it for the first time? And when I say failure or disappointment, this could be sort of in regards to maybe a setback on a grade or something, like maybe you went into an exam and went, oh my God, I think I aced that, but then your results came back and it wasn't as you thought. Like, how do you work through that and, you know, build yourself back up and build up your confidence? Paris, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in my first year of law, and I will never forget this really, because your first year grades are rather important into whether or not you will get into Part 2 law, and you had to have more or less a B+ GPA to secure your spot. And I remember one of my papers, I just didn't do that well, and I think it was a 30% assignment, and I received a C+ on it. And obviously I was really set back by this, really upset, because I thought I was just not going to get into law. But I think one of the things you really have to do, and advice I would have given to my future self to even improve on how I acted on the situation would be, is just, firstly, you do need to just take some time to assess what your emotions are and just let you feel be upset that you're feeling. Just because I feel it's really difficult to think logically about what you're going to do next if you're just still thinking in a really hot-headed space. And I remember what I did then was you just had to start thinking about, right, what are my next steps going to be? How am I going to ace this exam so I can actually get a grade that is going to make me get a place into Part 2? And so I think one of the things I would advise you to do if you were ever in my position in law school in first year is go and talk to your professors. I remember I had this person who was teaching me, and he was really kind, and you know, his door is always open. Office hours are a thing in university, which means you can go to your lecturers and just speak with them about whatever you're concerned with. So I definitely took advantage of that, and I just went to him and break down what I did in my essay and what exactly I was getting wrong. And so we worked out a plan on how I could improve, and I had been just doing every practice paper I could, regularly seeing my lecturer to see what I was getting wrong. And eventually, when it came to the exam, I did do really well and secured an A, and that did help me get into Part 2. So I think the biggest advice I can give to you is just to, you know, do acknowledge your emotions so you can clear that out and think logically and get in a correct headspace. But also just don't be afraid to ask for help. I know in law school you have this conception sometimes that it's a lonely place, some people might think, and you have to do everything yourself. But honestly, the support network here is so good, and I think you should definitely take advantage of it. It's definitely not an one-person job. There's a lot of people out there who can support you. Yeah, so that's what I would say to that answer.
Awesome, that's really great. Yeah, and just remembering that as a student, you're not not an island. Like, there are people here that support you, and some of those are staff, whether that's academic staff or people like myself, professional staff. And so I just wanted to also touch on your point about like understanding that you're allowed to feel your emotions if there has been a failure or a setback or anything like that, and then going through it's like sort of like, well, this has happened, now what? And the now what can be the hardest part to navigate. So, and that's like asking your tutors and getting that feedback, and then building yourself back up again. Thank you very much. Question 4, and I know a lot of you are actually involved in a lot of extracurricular activities that are a part of the university. So if you'd like to go along and speak about some of the things that you are involved in, and also the responsibilities outside of university. How do you try to find balance and juggle everything, or is that sort of like a learning as you go kind of thing? So I'll pass this one on to Araha.
Yeah, so I'm actually wait, is this on? Yeah, okay.
Good.
I'm part of the Māori Student Society for Law, Te Rakature, and that is a real cool space if you're Māori, and then they kind of have like little events as well, which everyone kind of turns up to, and they're always a hoot. And that's where I met a lot of friends, and I met my support system through that space, and I thought it was real cool. Like, not everyone in law school, the first year I came in, I was like, I want to leave, because I felt like kind of like just like walking around, and then I don't know if you guys know NPCs, and they're just like there, and you're like, okay, like should I go up to them? But then they don't look approachable and stuff. So, I hope it's not like that for you guys, obviously, because I was in that COVID space or whatever, it was different. But yeah, in terms of like how I balance my time, I make a rule to myself now to like study from kind of like 10 to 4 actually. So like I'll try get it done during the day and make a routine. And I only do 6 hours because for my head, like spending a whole day doing studies is not effective. Like I need to just do 4 to 6 hours of high quality study, getting the terms down. If I've missed a reading, oh well, okay, next week, you're going to have 4 readings, so just miss that. Let's focus on these ones, And then outside, I always like try and have a social life. Like I try and do things. It's a bit expensive, but I just don't make everything about law. But when I do make it about law, that's when I hone in and I really focus. And yeah, there are videos on YouTube on how to like study smartly, not hardly. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but just search it up online. It's really good, teaching you how to manage your time. So yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Sarah.
me.
Talia, now you're a tutor for Law 131, is that right? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this semester I have the really wonderful experience of going back and revisiting one of the core Part 1 papers, this time as a tutor. So I have found that an incredibly gratifying role. So every week I take a couple of tutorials, 20 or 25 or so. Current Part 1 students will show up and we'll usually work through a problem question. It's been a really wonderful way both of gaining professional experience, because for me in the long term I'd love to get into teaching in academia, but also of just connecting with younger students in the cohort. I know kind of what's been said over here, that the law school, especially in parts 1 and 2, can feel like a really isolating competitive space sometimes, and I don't want to dismiss that, but I think it's really important to form connections. And I mean, I've seen it happen in my tutorials. It's a really great space to be able to make friends and also work through the law and specific avenues that you're struggling with more in kind of a one-on-one space. It might be easier to say, ask your tutor a question than it is to ask in front of a lecturer when there's 500 other students in the classroom. But yeah, so go to your tutorials next year if you take law here. And who knows, maybe I'll see some of you there.
Awesome, thank you, Talia. Yeah, I agree with a lot of people do find it a bit daunting to sort of raise your hand and ask questions in a big lecture, particularly if it's like a 121G where there's 1,000 students. So those tutorials are really useful to get sort of more one-on-one time with your tutors. we'll go into the next question. So question 5, how have you handled stress during peak assessment periods? Janavi, can I pass this one on to you?
So yeah, no matter how hard you study throughout the year, there's always going to be like 2 weeks before exams when you're just feeling extremely overwhelmed, extremely stressed, because especially part 2 onwards, a lot of the papers are full year. So that means semester 1 and semester 2 content is normally examinable. But for first year as well, there's a lot of topics that you cover, and it's hard to structure your notes well to feel like you're well prepared to go into the exam. So especially in my first semester, I found it quite stressful to be able to make notes that I could easily apply to my exams. But what helped me a lot is just doing past papers. Like, you can spend 1,000,000 hours on your notes, but if you don't even do one past paper, you probably won't actually pass the course, because the past papers are so important. The questions that they've done in previous years are so helpful and normally quite applicable to the topics you're studying now. So I did as many past papers as I could, more so in second semester when I realized that I could have done a bit better in my first semester's exams. And after doing those, I found a big difference in my grades. So now I put aside like at least 3-4 days before to do at least five of the past papers under exam conditions, try my hardest and you're not going to get everything right, and that's okay. The best thing that you can do is use what you've written, try and take it, go into study groups with people, see what they thought, because everybody has great ideas. Some people think of stuff that you've never even thought of. So it's really nice to work with people, but also go back and fix your notes to reflect what you did wrong in the past papers. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and next question. What have you discovered about yourself during your studies at university so far? Mitchell, I'd love to give you this one.
I don't quite know where to begin with this one. There's so much
It's
that
a
I've
hard
learned
one.
in the last 18 months of me being here. I'd say probably the first thing is I've really learned to utilize the resources that are available to me, because I think going into university, I was very stubborn and thinking that a lot of the time I could get through things by myself with my own effort. But now I've realized that with my friends of other law students that I'm always studying with, I would not be able to do law school without them, as well as using the office hours that was already mentioned. I really think the law school provides a lot of good resources, and it'd be quite silly not to use them.
Awesome, thank you. And just one more before we go into our rapid fire questions. What do you hope for once you finish university? What are your aspirations? And this can be in career, travel, life, because life begins when you end university. I'll just open that up to either, I think, Paris.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I feel, because I have 1 year left until I graduate at this point, and to be honest, right now I'm still even deciding if I want to go into criminal law or corporate law. So I did do a internship last year with the police prosecution service, and that was definitely a really enjoyable time. But of course, this year as well, I've organized an internship for myself, and I will be seeing what the corporate world is like. So definitely having a go in that and figuring out what I want to do. But I do know that probably we'll be looking to go into law. Quite passionate about it, and I think all the lectures I've had steered me in that direction, just because of how interesting the content has been. And I think, like most law students and even lawyers in this country, I think there's also that aspiration to go abroad after, I think, 4 years. That's quite often when people do go abroad. So probably looking at going to London, which is a standard New Zealand lawyer route, and maybe even New York, depending on where it takes me. But yeah, so I think definitely doing some kind of law, but also doing some traveling as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. We're at the 5-minute mark, so rapid fire questions. Okay, so I'll start with Mitchell. What is the best study tip for surviving law school?
Start early so that you don't have so much to do in such a little bit amount of time right before the due date.
Awesome.
And then the other thing I'd say is try to isolate your study from your personal life.
Excellent, thank you. Talia, what is your preferred method for tackling long readings?
Look, I would say probably go through them first by skimming them and highlighting the important parts as they pop out. And then another thing that I like to do is just chat through your readings with someone in your class. It makes it easier to get the important points.
Cool, thank you. Janavi, what comes to mind as your favourite paper you've taken in your degree, and describe it in 5 seconds?
Okay. Well, I have kind of an unpopular opinion. I really liked 316 jurisprudence because it's a lot like an arts paper. Describing it in 5 seconds, it's the philosophy of law, and you just, yeah, I don't think I have much time to say it, but it's a very interesting paper, and you're required to take it. Yeah.
Yes, one of your part 3 subjects. And Paris, describe studying law in 3 words.
Fun, time-consuming, and interesting.
Excellent. Aroha, lucky last. What's the most unexpected thing you've learned in law school?
How to deal with people. Yeah, how to deal with different people and have a smile on your face.
Yeah, I think that's one of the why law is such a great degree. Even if you don't want to go into law as practice, it's just like you learn about people and you learn how to speak with people from all walks of life.
You're more like resilience. I mean, like you learn a lot of resilience and thick skin when things don't always go your way. And
always good to have.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience at all? You can just pop your hand up if you wish. Yeah, go ahead in the green.
How do you guys balance from studying and a part-time job?
How do we balance studying and having a part-time job?
So I've been doing a lot of volunteering, which I'm not getting paid for, but I think it counts for all the same. So the main thing is I'll always plan ahead. I'll know that I have this at this time in the next week. So I'm going, okay, I need to get this done before that. And then a lot of the times I'll read something and then I can just let it marinate whilst I'm working in my head. And then I can come back to it and I feel like I already know what I'm doing.
Nice, great answer. There was another hand raised.
I was just wondering about the conjoint aspect of it. Like, I know that you dropped that second year. So how important it is to have a conjoint as part of your work?
Well, me personally, I think it's not important in the slightest. I took commerce in my first year and I despised it. And I decided that I didn't want to force myself to slog through something that I wasn't enjoying. And now I'm just taking the law papers. For me, it feels a lot more clear for what I want to do. But I'm sure there are some people that enjoy their conjoints out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak to that as well. I also dropped my conjoint. Similar reasons. I had a bunch of first years come into my tutorial this year and say, oh, Talia, we've been told that we have to take our conjoint because otherwise we're not employable and no firm's going to want to hire us. I think that's a load of rubbish. I think if you take your law degree and that's what you're really passionate about, then you're going to stand out anyway because you're going to perform well, you're going to make friendships and connections. I think so long as you're engaging in extracurriculars, even if that just be personal things you enjoy like hobbies, you still look really employable. And I mean, now in my final semester with just a law degree, I haven't had any issues finding work, so I think it's okay.
I dropped my conjoint, but I sometimes disagree with that. I think you have to think really carefully because law papers, as you know, are like pretty hard and your GPA could get hindered, for example, if you're taking like really big 30-point papers across the year. So that's contract, public, criminal, tort. And if you have something come up, for example, and you can't fully commit yourself to those papers, it can be really difficult to balance your time. So I would say maybe do your conjoint during your level 2s as well. But that's if you know you want to be like a lawyer and you know that's what you want to do, then yeah, you should drop your conjoint because there's no point. But just have a really big think about it because it's like the Bachelor of Arts papers I found kind of like a cruise. They were nice, and they were like a break away from law. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot to think about there, and I suppose it's different for everyone. It just depends on what you want to do. Some people take a conjoint just to allow themselves some variability in their studies, and some people really know what they want to do and just go down the single LLB range. And I think that speaks to like how many different pathways there are to get to your end goal, and that it is actually different for everyone. I hate using the word journey because it's overused, but it is an individual journey in that sense. So whether you do take a conjoint, you know, whether you do arts, commerce, property, media, whatever, you know, there's always, I don't think that you will regret doing a conjoint, because all knowledge is great. Like, you'll always take the knowledge that you have and apply it down the line. So, you know, it really doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because, you know, if you have goals in mind that are specific, then, you know, maybe a Bachelor in Arts might be useful alongside an LLB degree. It just depends on what you want to do and how you feel about it. Yeah. So any other questions before we finish up? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming along today. Please, a round of applause for our lovely panellists. They did a great job. Thank you very much.